Okay.
I love you. Like, and then it goes away. And kind of here. So it's like they let it. Right, I think they've got something that absorbs them. Yeah. It's just a bit release. You know what you're saying? Tax on her, like. That's faster or something. Yes, now. Let's start how it's like this. There is not. Okay. All right, the 6 o'clock, are we ready to go? All right, looks like we have a quorum, so that is good. Now we can put it for the last national. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm distracted by that.
But if you want to change things.
No, well, you know, we can make a focus on the. All right, so do we have anybody visiting tonight or online?
No.
Okay, great. Right, so just need to have a motion.
I will approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
So. Moving right along. Oh, yes, now we need to vote since Candace told me. All in favor? By one time.
Yeah, a lot more than myself.
No, I vote one time for this other time.
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second that.
Great. And now we will vote. All in favor? Thank you. All right, yeah, I'm getting used to Candace changing my screen and I thought I was the first, now I'm a little confused. So, no, it's good. All right, now it's my turn.
Okay, superintendent's report, my highlights are the bond sale. I mean, that is our number one highlight for the month, and that's why we have the Piper Sandler folks here tonight to make a presentation and talking through that, because that was just amazing. It was unbelievable to watch that, but the cost savings that we received through that whole process is pretty astounding. And so anyway, they're gonna be online with us tonight, and they're gonna give you the highlights of this entire bond process and through this sale. And then the bond meeting with the bond oversight committee was, I mean, just a good group of people. We had a good conversation. We got a lot done. We got covered a lot of ground on background information for them. And so they're up to speed with facts of the bond and where we are with bond projects and where we're going. And we'll just continue down that road with them. You see the bond updates here. We've made a lot of progress as far as projects go. The track facility installation began Monday. They are cutting all the forms and poles and stuff for all of the track events. The long jump and triple jump kits have been cut out, and now they have their curbs installed, which is the border, and then the sand goes in after that. But they'll do the surfacing, start the surfacing of that track facility in those D zones next week. They also cut out the discus arena platform on the opposite end, on the west end. And so I'm pretty excited about the way that's coming out. It's going to be a really cool track facility.
Is that high jump going the same place?
So down there we have, the pole vault's going to be in the same place that it is now.
Yeah.
Down at the west end, we'll have the javelin throw on one end, the discus on the other, and then in between them is the high jump.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. It's gonna be amazing, to say the least. And then, The S&P, on the August activities that I listed, the S&P national rating was probably the biggest contributor to the bond sale, and where we ended up on there, we had a AA+ rating with the state and an A+ rating for long-term investments. And so because of that, the demand for our bond, the demand to invest and purchase our bonds was extremely high, 11 times over. So $300 something million to purchase our $18 million bond. So they were able to negotiate with all those investors to get the best payout rate and with maturity rate, and then that saved us on the interest rate on our bond money, our bond funds. So they'll talk more about that, but those are the highlights, really. There's a lot of stuff that I could look at. But if you have any questions or want me to talk about anything that's in here, please, right now. Anybody got anything?
My only question is, and I think I know the answer, but I have that. Is the field lights electrical in progress at the middle school?
They are.
So what is that? I know the lights are installed.
So the lights are installed, they're looking to hook up the electrical to the building outlet. And Gilbert is meeting with some contractor to do that. Go and give us an update on where he's at today. But yeah, we're trying to expedite that hookup, so.
Yeah,
where we at, Joe?
We're working with two options, hooking it up to the building or actually doing what we do at the high school, where high school lights have its own meter for PPNL. So we'll also have a case, request into PPNL to, get a meter put in and installed. If we did that, it would be on the north side of the field, close to the Creswell field. It'd be pretty easy to get to that. You can trench straight across from Oregon Avenue. There's quite a few transformers PPNL has right there. The only pickle is it's 3-phase, 440 amps, a fairly large service. So we have two options, and we're working on both options.
Thank you. Okay, so that's, but I have one question. So the dirt over at the high school, a couple of people asked about that, and is it just gonna get, is it gonna get climbed out? Is it gonna get moved out? Is it on, like, at some point is there a plan for it?
Yeah.
Just curious.
So that soil, when they pull the sod off of the top like that and put it and let it cure, it becomes the richest topsoil that you can get.
It's good ground, isn't it?
Yeah, and all of the minerals that come out of that. So all of that dirt and grass over there right now is curing. The dirt's not curing, but all the sod is and it's off. And then once that's cured, then we'll use that to bring some good healthy topsoil to the rest of our facility there. So kind of give it back to the environment, if you will.
And do we have kind of a timeline? How long does that process take?
Never had grass cure.
Me either.
Typically you want Mother Nature, good old fashioned rain. The rain, Mother Nature rain and our Oregon winter will break down that grass and break it down, and that makes it into that really good topsoil that we need. So that will probably be wintered over. And then as soon as we're able to start moving it in the spring.
Okay.
We do have some movement happening in there, some areas. So for example, the ditch, there's some gravel that's across the ditch. That's a temporary, that's only there for construction. That's going to disappear as soon as construction's over. So within the coming weeks, that'll disappear. Yeah, so the timeline for the dirt itself is typically when the dirt is working hard.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
And we have already contracted to have that moved, so
Okay.
Nathan will be the person, he'll come in and then finish that job up when it's cured.
Ways that the rest of our schools are beautiful.
We will, well, we need to, the landscape out on the baseball field is like this.
So, yeah.
And so we need to bring it up to level, and some of the dirt out of the softball field and that dirt over there, we're gonna use to do that, bring that landscape up. And then there are other areas out there. after the baseball field headed this way, so south of the baseball field. It just really goes down, and it doesn't need to.
Okay.
We don't need it to run that way, so there's a lot, we have a lot of space out there where we can use that and more, so.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mike?
Since we're at it,
Oh,
anybody have any questions? Anybody else?
You know, we'll always have questions.
you know. All right, and Julie, you said no public comment, right? Okay. So then we have, and no, it doesn't look like student representative tonight, he's probably busy getting school started or something. I don't even know who that is. Like, did you happen to know who that is?
It's Cam,
Is who?
Cameron. Kevin's older brother. I know who it is.
Yeah, it's,
The SB president.
Leonard.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, all right, hopefully we'll get to hear from her. But
Can we just make sure he's been invited?
Yeah.
He knows he's invited. Yeah.
somebody make sure. everyone knows what it is. All right, and then special presentation.
So they're actually on, they just inactivate their cameras.
So we have the representatives from Piper Sandler and Company. Joe Wilson, who's the Associate Public Financing Investment, or Investment Banking Department there. And then, David is the Vice President, is that right? Of Sales?
Senior Vice President, so slight technical date, but who's counting?
Okay, well, take it away, David.
Thanks, appreciate that. Superintendent, Board of Directors, thanks for having us here. I will make this really quick and then we'll turn it over to Joe for the bulk of our presentation. I am Senior Vice President here in the Portland office for Piper Sandler. I'm actually the newest member of our team. Some of you may know Carol Samuels. She is a managing director here. She apologizes she couldn't be on tonight. She's enjoying some much needed downtime in Central Oregon right now. So you get a pale imitation in me, but thanks for having us. Just really quickly, I joined Piper Sandler this summer after a 25-year career in education. I did work for the Oregon School Boards Association, Portland Public, Beaverton School District, and most recently was at the Northwest Regional ESD. So excited for a new tenure for me supporting districts in a different way. And Creswell was one of the very first sales I got to participate in from our end. So it was kind of an exciting piece for me to be a part of that at the tail end of that process. As I mentioned, Joe Wilson joining us tonight. I also want to call out Elena Obradovich on as well. She's an associate here in our office, and she and I will be here merely to answer any questions that Joe will not be able to answer, which will be zero. So happy to be on. I'm going to cover a couple quick slides here before we kick it over to you, Joe. Next slide, Joe. So just real quickly for tonight, we're going to run through this process, talk about a little bit of what are GO bonds, what is this magic science that you all have, and then the process that districts go about and that with which Creswell went about securing those bonds. Next slide. Very quickly, what are GO bonds? So, bonds are just a school district's way of getting money. This is your way of getting a loan to do the work that you all need to do from a capital perspective, right? As you know, you get money from the state and permanent rate property tax collections to fund your operations, but the state does not, for the most part, provide nearly any money for capital needs in school districts in Oregon. Little bits in the school capital improvement matching fund of which you're participating, but by and large, the bulk of capital funding is done through local general obligation bonding. And of course, GO bonds, that is your question to your voters to say, hey, here's the work we want to do in our district. Do you give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down on that at elections? And you all participated in that part of it. And as we go through this, as we say, on election night, your job mostly ended, and then all of our job began in securing those fundings, that funding stream going forward. The one little quirk I do like to point out for people on that election piece is often we think we're asking the voters, the taxpayers in our communities for a rate, a tax rate, but you're not. You're asking for an amount of indebtedness. You're saying, hey, we want to borrow X amount of money, and we estimate that it will cost this much as a levy rate, but we're really asking for an overall indebtedness for the district to do projects in the community. So that's kind of really the basics on bonds. We don't want to go too far into it, but that is, bonds are your ability to get debt to do the necessary capital improvements you need in your district. So Joe, why don't we hand it over to you and run us through the process we went through with Creswell.
No, certainly. Well, first I want to say thank you, Mike and Chanel, for inviting us to talk to the board tonight. It's honestly a pleasure because, the more stressful part happened, for us to go through the bond sale, but it's also the most exciting part, because I think we like to geek out on some of the intricacies of it, but it's also great to hear, the execution on your guys' end now that, the funds are in your hand and hearing about the projects happening. And I'm excited to hear about the champions that come off the Creswell field. So it's going to be, something to follow, and I'm excited to be a part of the process to help you guys get there. But some of these earlier slides are going to be things that might be a little bit more redundant that you guys went through already over the past couple of years. I'm on the way to getting to the approval from your voters to issue the bonds. But just backtracking to kind of how we got here and the pre-election process that you guys are, some of you might be familiar with is, the goal was May 2023 election. And to get there, conversations happened about 2 years ago with, Mike and Chanel asking, how much can we raise? What are some of the estimated levy rates that we can look at that voters might be willing to vote on, but also more so indebtedness that they'd be willing to vote on? And what are the needs of the community? So, at that time, there was the soul searching, like, what is it going to be that the community is going to support at this time, from a capital perspective? And, to get into that point to be able to go out to the voters, you need to put together a ballot title. And that's where we first started helping and being able to model, what it'll look like to borrow, what you guys might need to be, and also what levy rate and over what maturity length. So we were able to establish with the, help of Mike and Chanel what works best for the district. And, we were able to put together a ballot title with them that went out to voters, looking at 18.2 million here underlined, and then also estimated to maintain current bond levy rate, which is about $1.94 per thousand of assessed value, and then over 21 years or less for the term of the bond itself. And we'll talk about those a little bit later and how those kind of adjusted over time, looking at the overall levy rate picture into the future. But this is just the pre-election process, as you guys have gone through. And to get here as well, there were key dates that the district had to be aware of to be able to execute and get on that May 2023 ballot. So they really had to be on their horse to get there. And it was nice to be able to be part of that process and understanding how we can best get them there and put them in the best situation possible. And so then, moving from the pre-election process, this is when the anxiety-inducing part happens, right? When, after you've had your bond oversight committee, you've had your, board meetings, you've had your discussions and everything, you get to the ballot and you've, see where the voters are. And, we have to say that on May 16th, there were mixed results. Out of the 12 school districts that went out for bonds, 6 passed and 6 failed. So that's, 50% success rate. When I was in school, that's failing to me. So, I have to say overall as a state level, but for you guys had a resounding, message from the voters that, 70% success rate for you guys, that is impressive. That was the highest approval rating from voters in the May 2023 election. So kudos to y'all for being able to put in the legwork to get the message out there, to get people on the same page and aligned with what the goals are of the school district. And, I have to give it to, the district for being able to really fine tune that and get it there, because there are a lot of school districts that eked it out maybe at 50% or so. And as you can see, the average voter approval rate is, was about 61%. So you guys are far above that. So congratulations. And I'm just going to pause there and say that, because that's a big achievement. But then, a lot of people can take a breath at that point, but then that's also where our work begins with, bond council and also with Mike and Chanel to really get the bond sale moving forward. So you guys can get the funds to be able to start on your projects. And that's, what I'll talk about next. So, you get approved in May, and then we immediately got together and we were hitting the ground running. And we had a call, I think on May 17th to, kick it off, to figure out, okay, what's the schedule over the summer? What's availability look like? and what are the things that need to be accomplished between, you know, the 3 months from basically approval through actual bond sale, and then, you know, through the closing period. And we were able to, you know, create a schedule with an agreement with, you know, the bond council and the district as well. And, you know, what this required and what we were all agreeing to was a collaborative effort over the next 3 months to be in tune and focused on, you know, what the tasks are at hand. And it's not just 1 or 2 things that needs to be in place. It's, you know, about 30 different items that need to be addressed over the course of 3 months in the summer. And, you know, everyone was on board and knew what the mission was to be able to get there. And so, you know, it was an impressive effort, and it was great to also be able to have a successful result at the end. And then, you know, one of the things that has to happen early on that I do want to point out is, you know, right away there was the requirement to apply for the OSBG, or it wasn't a requirement, but to apply for the OSBG guarantee program. The school district can receive the state guarantee and thus the state's rating of the AA plus from S&P. And to do that, we had to get all of the application documents submitted within the first 3 weeks after the election. So there was a lot of legwork to be done because there's about 15 different documents that need to get put in place, you know, including the authorizing resolution, the canvass of votes, the, the projected model, different documents from, you know, pre-election and election. So there was a lot that had to happen right away, and, you know, we were able to get that done. And so then, you know, when we start moving from those initial steps, we start looking at some of the bigger items that have to be put together. And you want to call out the rating presentation and the preliminary official statement, which was this disclosure document for the district. And, you know, looking at the rating presentation, you know, I do want to just say, first and foremost, put out the punchline. The district received a A+ underlying rating from S&P. And that is, you know, a massive kudos, because that goes out, you know, and is able to translate to actually dollars and cents savings for the district to be able to have that rating. And that's not just given to anybody. That's, you know, given because of, you know, good financial management, good, you know, just management practices overall, you know, strong economy, low debt levels, and also, you know, they do take into account strong community support. And, you know, what happens during this process is it's basically an interview of the school district by these rating analysts that cover school districts all across the country. And so they have context, you know, what's happening in, you know, Minnesota, California, Washington. And so they're, you know, they're able to compare Creswell to other school districts. And they found that, you know, Creswell was suitable and worthy of having one of the, you know, being in the second highest category of ratings. So that is a massive achievement for the district. And that's something that, like I said, is going to be providing savings for the district over the life of the bonds, because they're able to achieve that higher rating, because that translates to, you know, more interest from investors, thus creating the opportunity for lower interest rates for them over the life of the bond. And then moving forward, another big piece of the puzzle was the, you know, preliminary official statement, which was the disclosure document for the district itself. And I think, you know, Chanel never wants to see this document again, because it's a bear, and it's about 80 pages that requires review and input from the district over time. And, you know, we're always sending them, you know, drafts back and forth. We probably went through 3 or 4 different drafts over the course of the you know, preparation to get to the bond sale. And you know, this has a lot of information about the district, and, you know, including the demographics, financials, and, you know, enrollment and so forth. But then it also has, you know, the legalese behind the security and the purpose of the bonds as well. And, you know, the way we look at this document and the way that it's received by the market in whole, you know, being investors, they see this as the marketing document. They look at this to start their credit analysis to see if they're going to invest in the bonds or not, in addition to that, you know, high rating. And so this is very important to have it be accurate and you know, complete and all in totality. So it's not pretty, but it definitely is needed. And, you know, the district staff has been incredibly helpful in being able to get this together. And, you know, once we get this into complete order, then we go through actually a marketing process where we send it out to investors in our sales team, because we're on the banking side. We have a sales team that goes out and calls on different accounts and says, and brings Creswell School District geo bonds in front of them and says, hey, this is coming onto the market on August 24th. You should be interested in this. And, it's a great credit, tells the story of it, of the district, and is able to, get investors in line to be able to come to the table come order period on August 24th. And so once we have that out in the market, then, we move towards, what we like to call game time. And this is when I told Mike to get his happy dance ready, because, it could be good or bad, but at the end of the day, the district is going to be in a position where they are able to, complete their projects and get the money that they need for those projects. But going into the bond sale, we work in a market-based environment where things change every day. And it's a massive market that we play in, multiple trillions of dollars in market size, but also, billions of dollars traded on a daily basis. And there are capital allocators that are trading, hour by hour and so forth. So there are a lot of factors at play when looking at the market. And just these two graphs here are showing the U.S. Treasury 10-year yield, which is the 10-year bond issued by the U.S. Treasury. It's the most traded security out of any market in the world. So we look at, looking more specifically at the bond market, we find this as a good proxy with, the investor sentiment at the time. And as you might see in that top left graph over the 1 month view, interest rates weren't going the right way. They were going up and to the right, and we wanted them to go down and to the right. So, there was some trepidation coming in, just being like, okay, where's the market going to land? Because the two things that were at play were inflation concerns and also recession fears. And if there were inflation concerns, that means that, investors might perceive the rates to go higher. So they're going to, sell their bonds and, reallocate their capital to maybe a future date when the rates go up. But also on the reverse side, you have the recession fears, where if there's fears of recession and the economic indicators are pointing in a direction where the economic productivity is slowing down, then the rates are likely to be depressed over time. So those are the two things that we're kind of like fighting each other constantly. They're antithesis to each other. But with that, higher rates aren't good because that means higher borrowing costs for y'all. But when we were at our pre-pricing call, which is the day before the pricing, it's the Wednesday, August 23rd. We had some mixed signals coming in from the market, and I think they were kind of reached their peak during that week around Tuesday or Wednesday, early Wednesday, and then I don't know what magic Mike or Chanel mixed up in their crystal balls, but come Thursday morning, as you can see in this lower graph here, this is where we started the order period, and rates had come down significantly in that 1 day period from when we last were together. So they came down almost 8 basis points from the day before. So that was a really strong wind in the sail going into the sale. And with that, we had strong market conditions, now at our backs, and because like I said, these investors look just hour by hour, day by day. So we had strong market conditions, but then we also had that really strong rating that was backstopping the entire credit, being the A+ underlying credit, that the credit rating that the district had, achieved, and then also the AA+ enhancement from the state bond guarantee. And so with that, looking at the results from the order period, which was an hour and a half, started at 7:30 a.m. on August 24th and went to about 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. We had investors flowing in. So this typically doesn't, when you start the sale, this is all blank. You have little lines for the allocations by maturity. And now, we have oversubscription levels from, 3 times to, 13.5 times. So, their investors were everybody was trying to get these. Everyone's trying to grab a piece of them where they can. And, we see this as a great thing because that means that there's high demand for Creswell School District's general obligation bonds. And that means that people believe in the district and, see the rating, being representative of how strong of a credit it is and well into the future, because these aren't bonds they're buying for a year. They're buying some of these for, 20 years or not, 19 years, 18 years. So these are long-standing bonds, and they're believing in the future of the district itself. And I think the punchline here that I do love is, these were 11 times oversubscribed. So for every single bond we had to offer, there were 11 people waiting in line to buy these bonds. So that's impressive. It really is. So with that strong demand, it does also create an opportunity for us as the underwriter to be able to negotiate with the investors and allocate bonds and adjust the yields to be able to get to a point where we can actually generate some cost savings from that demand and translate that into dollars and cents. But moving forward, I just also want to give it a little flavor too of who are the people that are investing in these in your guys' deal. And we have some broker dealers, bond funds, hedge fund, money managers, SMAs, insurance companies. So this is just like the top list of everyone that's invested. There were about 27 different accounts wanting a piece of your guys' bonds on that pricing day. And then moving forward, this is kind of where talking about how we captivate that demand and be able to utilize that in a positive way to make the make the district receive a benefit from it. We have our preliminary scale on the right here, and then our final scale on the left here in the blue. And the difference between the two, being able to utilize that demand, it reduced the yield or the cost of borrowing for the district, generated over $500,000 in savings for the district in total interest cost. So over the life of your bonds, you'll now be saving $500,000 more in interest cost due to the strong demand that came in on pricing day. And then that's a credit to the strong rating and market conditions. And so, just, if you guys want to just nerd out with me a little bit, in this right box over here, these two columns, looking at the subscription levels, and kind of match, and you can kind of see how they translate to this change. And this change is in this spread that is to the MMD, which is the benchmark that we we use for generating our yields for what the bonds will go out at. And we were able to make adjustments on every single maturity for the entire series of bonds. And then moving forward, this is all great, but what does that actually mean for the district? And, how does this look for taxpayers as well in the end? And moving forward moving forward and looking at what this means for your projected levy rate over the next 20 years for the life of these bonds. As you can see, we were able to structure the debt utilizing the final numbers and understanding where the market was at that time and working with Mike and Chanel to understand what's best for the district. We were able to structure it and not have a continuation levy that is $1.94 for 20 years, or projected to be $1.94 per thousand assessed value for 20 years. So it kind of looked like something like this. If you can follow my cursor, it would just be straight through. Being able to utilize that demand and the adjustments in the market, we're able to actually front load more of that debt and be able to add a step in here in fiscal year 2036, which allows for future general obligation capacity. If you guys at the time need to go out for, or want to go out for another round of general obligation bonds, and that would saying the drops in fiscal year 2036, that would mean that you'd be on the ballot in May 2035 or November 2034. And you have about, doing some rough math, there's a capacity at that time, if you're going to issue, say another 20-year bond, just utilizing these numbers for maybe about $20 million, in 2035 or so. And then moving forward, this is just kind of a final summary of everything that we've sent to Mike and Chanel, but also I think it's great for your guys' viewing to be able to just have this as kind of just for snapshot of like how'd the bond sale go and what were some of the things that the top highlights throughout this process. And truthfully, it was a seamless process that had a lot of success and times of uncertainty. But I think the district put itself in an incredible situation by being able to have such a strong rating and putting in that legwork that wasn't just done because they did a good presentation. It was done because they've had years of proven success and being able to manage the district in such a way that it's been easy for the rating analysts to give them the rating that's that they deserve. And with that, it translates to lower borrowing cost, and the district's able to get their projects done and their $18 million at a lower cost, which was provided to them last week on September 7th. So I'm happy to hear that the projects are going smoothly less than a week after getting the funds. So, congratulations to the district, and we are open for any questions if you guys have any.
Well, I love nerding out with you when you said you saved us $500,000, so that's fantastic. That was a great overview. I really do appreciate a little bit of detail, but not so much you lost us. I think that was great, and I love knowing that you were able to front load the debt and gave us some flexibility in the future if our facilities did something more. So that's great news.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think one thing I would like to note too is, we do all, in our projections, we put in, when we were working with Mike and Chanel a year ago when they were submitting the awesome application and putting in some numbers for the ballot title, we were expecting about a TIC, which is, what we think about as just like a mortgage rate on a house, right? It's like the mortgage rate on a borrower, or, it's the rate of the total borrowing. We were projecting about 588. And we came in a full percent lower than that. And so being able to come in at a lower borrowing cost allowed us to also do that. So, it was definitely a great opportunity. And Mike and Chanel were on point, and they were just like, yeah, let's definitely do that. And it's makes a lot of sense and aligns with a long-term capital plan. And as Mike's alluded to, he said it's about a 10 to 12 year capital plan. So that kind of aligns nicely with that drop as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying Mike won't be here in 2036, but every superintendent wants to set their successors up to be successful. So building in that step it is really a forward-thinking process for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic news. Thank you for helping us through the process.
Happy to. Thank you guys for having us.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. Anybody else have any more questions? No?
I just want to see Mike's happy dance. Hey, there we go. I love it. Well, if there aren't any further questions, then we'll be happy to include we'll send around the presentation for you guys as documentation.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, David. Thank you, Elena.
Great. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you all.
Do well.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. We have some unfinished business. We need to approve the HPD, the resolution regarding the compensation of board members. We discussed it last week.
Yeah, I move to approve, resolution 2324-03. I second.
Any discussion? Are we all?
I appreciate this short and sweet
I do too.
and the direction that we can keep the money focused on our kids.
Okay, all in favor? Yeah, I didn't forget. It's gonna be a fun game. All right. New business. All right, so we have some information here regarding approving this is for the awesome grant, correctly?
Yeah. So this is the board resolution authorizing the execution of the Awesome Grant. Resolution, and Awesome Grant agreement are in your packets. You have those. The board must approve the resolution for the grant agreement so we can move forward with the grant. Did anyone have any questions about the Awesome agreement or the urgency for the resolution? Get $4 million.
You know, get it in, like,
We see, yeah.
Motion.
I move to approve resolution 2324-04.
Second that.
Okay, awesome. All in favor? I'm like waiting for Sarah. I realized she was up there. It took me. Hi, Sarah. Okay, so moving along to the next thing. I'm telling you, I'm really excited Candace changed this, but I'm gonna take a minute to figure out what I'm looking at on my screen now. All right, so our next thing is to approve the superintendent contract extension.
So I have a 3-year rolling contract, and each year the board reviews my performance and then determines what my outcome is or my evaluation is, and then whether or not they're going to extend or non-extend my contract for that 3rd year or for another year, which brings it back to a 3-year rolling contract. And this last year in March, I received a positive evaluation from the board, but there was no motion or movement on the contract to add that 3rd year to extend it or non-extend it. So that's important for me to know which direction I'm going.
Okay. All of the terms in the contract are good with you. It's literally just extending the 3 years from this calendar year and 3 more. Okay, okay. That would have been my mess up because that would have been last year. I should have been able to do that when we approved your evaluation. So if you're okay with me making a motion, did you have any more? Okay. Then I would move that we approve an extension on Mike's current contract with same terms, but an extension. So the new 3-year rolling period would be from this school year to 3 more. So I'm not sure, does it start the calendar year like 2023 through?
Like 25, 26.
26, okay, 23 to 26.
Before we go, can we, at least for Sarah, and I don't know if Mary was here last year, so I find this to be very fun. I've never, in like business, people don't do this, but apparently this is a really common process in school districts where you approve someone's contract every year for a 3-year rolling year. It doesn't take off the table anything about ending a contract for cause or anything like that. It's just part of a normal school district process, which is very outside of most business processes where you would never give someone a contract. You wouldn't constantly be rolling a 3-year contract out. So I don't know about if you guys had that question, but I've had that question every year when I first came on, like, I don't understand. It seems odd, but is the typical education fund?
I think it provides some solid ground for Mike as the superintendent to say.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. I'm
We
just,
intend to keep it employed
Yeah.
for 3 years. We have all the normal protections as a board. If either Mike needs to end it or we need to end it, there's certain timelines and notices that need to be given. So this just allows him to go 3 years instead of 2.
Thanks for that. Claire.
Yeah.
I forget
Really
also.
good.
I also forget. I'm like, okay. So, all right, so Lacey, move, we have a second.
Yeah, second.
All in favor? All right. Yeah. All right.
Point of order,
Okay.
opposed.
Okay.
I'll vote for those.
You need to ask.
Okay, so that.
So I'm sorry, so
Tim didn't vote to
okay,
approve.
so, okay,
So
all
then
of
you
your,
just say
okay, all of those.
All opposed, that way it allows him to vote.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I haven't had that situation.
and then Marilyn, do you have the total counts that,
Okay, perfect. Okay, yep. Thank you. All right, so then moving on to the next point is superintendent evaluation time. Which this is the same timeline we've had every year, it's just the next time,
News cycle,
new cycle,
new timeline.
new time. So. Anybody? Anything on this?
So to share my same thoughts I share every year, and I don't think I've ever won them yet, but I still think we should have feedback. I still think we should have, I don't know what we want to call it, I don't want to call it 360, I won't call it here, I don't know what we want to call it. But I still think we should implement feedback system.
We did.
Yeah, we did last year.
Yeah, targeted feedback,
Good targeted feedback.
exactly what you asked for.
Okay, I guess I just don't remember.
Direct reports.
Yeah,
Just the direct report,
yeah.
and I'm okay, but I didn't see it on here.
It's listed there, targeted feedback.
Oh, where, can you tell me which box, because I'm obviously.
Let's see, superintendent presents their self-evaluation, the board may ask for questions, great.
It's in February, evaluation documents sent to the board so that we have a chance, / targeted audience.
So we're gonna send it to both of us. Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm fine with it.
Last year.
Yes, I actually totally forgot to, so that's okay. But I did appreciate it. I did appreciate it happening. And I think it was. Yeah, that was good. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the superintendent evaluation time?
I move to approve the superintendent evaluation.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, all in favor. Perfect. All right.
So next month we'll talk about goals.
Yes,
Candace will keep you right on track.
Maybe comes up on.
She keeps me on track too, so that's good. She said Debbie knows stuff. So, perfect. All right, so the next thing, I think is Mike. Discussion, committee opportunities.
so I have two committees that I'm looking for your participation in. One is the labor management committee, I'm looking for 3 board members for that committee, and the policy committee, looking for 3 there. And if you have any interest in one of those committees or the other, please email me and we'll make assignments at the October meeting. The labor management committee will be working on collective bargaining, and this next spring we have the certified association up for bargaining. And then the policy committee works on development of all the policies for the school district.
Assuming you need 3 or less initially.
Yeah, maximum of 3, so that we don't have a. Okay,
Moving along to the next one. Right, or is that going to be RFP committee, this is going to talk about that?
yeah, so Joe is processing RFPs for seismic and bond projects. And if there is a board member who would like to be on an RFP, he would like to have one board member join the RFP committee. If there's a volunteer available, not fine, but if anybody would like to do that as a desire to be on that committee.
What's the time commitment?
Well, we need to move pretty quick on it, meaning I'd like to get it squared up by the end of next week.
No, how often do you meet and when do you meet?
We would meet one time and then the rest of the work would be on your own, and then you score. We have 3 proposals to score. I would propose that you do that on your own and give you the materials, like if you were part of it.
So this is an evaluation committee.
Yes.
Got it.
So one meeting and then everything else will be done via email. And it wouldn't have to be a very long meeting, it'd just be an organizational meeting.
And you don't have to make a choice between labor management, policy for RFP committee. The RFP committee is just a position that.
Well, I volunteer for the evaluation committee.
The RFP evaluation.
You're calling it RFP, I'm calling it evaluation, but I volunteer for it. Do you want us to
you
say
want us
something
to-
now, or do you want
you
us to
wanna
just
say
email
let
you?
Joel-
We could have up to two. I would welcome having two board members on it.
Sure,
Do you want to tell me,
Yeah, right.
do you want it, or, you know?
I think if they can have up to two, which two are do we have volunteers?
I would volunteer for the river management and the RFP if there's room. I'd like to do both.
So RFP, one, Jim wants RFP, anybody else want to be on the RFP? You got your two.
Thank you very much. It really lends a lot of credit to that particular process, having a board member involved. We had Mark involved last time, so it's really appreciative. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Right, so then the next item on the agenda is the, safe routes to schools plan draft that they sent us.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Joe.
I have one hard copy. You guys actually had electronic, and I can certainly make copies of it if you want, or if you want the hard copy, I can hand it to you right now. Basically, at this, just to give you a quick rundown, we're in the stage where we're asking community input. You recall the Safe Routes to School folks, Amelia and Trevor joined us at a meeting virtually, and we were able to listen to them. They gave us a very rundown of what they were at, the stages we're at right now. They collected all that up, and we have in your packet, you have the executive summary, and you actually have pretty thick, but the actual plan. And it identifies some of the key projects we want to do for across the district. This is a partnership with the city of Creswell, Lane County government, and LCOG. And so some of the projects we have jurisdiction over, if it's on our properties, like parking lot adjustments. But a lot of major projects where the meat and potatoes are, where the money comes from, because what this does is it drives an application to Oregon Department of Transportation to get funding for capital projects for street crossing improvements, like in front of Oregon, in front of the middle school, improving that, and funding here, on Niblock. I just wanted to include this so you have an opportunity to review it, and also it ties into that previous piece. It kind of gives you the closure of what you previously already heard from Amelia and Trevor. And the comment period is happening right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or Amelia. I can send that information to you if you need to. The information about commenting is all inside the packet. Is there any questions?
My only question is that, and this is only because I didn't read the whole packet.
Pardon me?
This is only because I didn't read the entire
Oh, sure.
packet. So the comment period is open. Is there an easy way for parents or community members to be able to comment without needing to? And if that's true, are we communicating it out to parents and families?
Yes, so I'm hoping that you have it included in our CSD 40 newsletter this week and have it on social media. It's also because we're partners with the city of Creswell. They actually did a presentation at city council meeting on Monday. You had your presentation prior, so we didn't need to have that repeated.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of coverage happening because we don't want to just get our parents, we want the community.
Sure.
But yeah, absolutely. CSD 40, a quick link there for the newsletter and through our social media accounts.
Thanks.
Yes, that is a lot of meetings. It's a lot of information.
If we were able
It's
to
good
get the
information
funding,
though.
yeah, this would be some really, really good, safe, some really good stuff for our community. For our
No,
students.
it's very, it encompasses a lot of information for sure.
Through the whole process, it's public comment now, the draft plan will become finalized, taking into account the public comment. Do we have a sense of how much the city of Creswell is dedicating in terms of funding and resources to accomplishing some of this?
We've had a lot of conversations about that, actually. The city of Creswell just recently did that new I'm not sure if it's called a tax. I don't live in the city limits, so I really don't.
Transportation.
Yeah, people who live in the city limits see it because it's just started. And that allows for capital projects. As I understand it, D Street is the next big piece to push, and possibly Second Street, which is, if you think about that, Second Street is where Creswell Bakery's on, and it goes up towards that park we have on the hill. And D Street's a kind of a parallel connector street to Oregon Avenue. So if Oregon Avenue's blocked, a lot of people put up D Street. So the city of Creswell is focused on those two, because that's where their funding's focused on. These kind of like on the lower end of there. So they haven't committed to I'm curious what happened last night or Monday at the city council meeting, because I have a suspicion that question might have been asked as well. Involved this whole time was Shelley Clark, a city council member, very helpful. She's very advocate for this. And so I don't have a real good sense how much money they have funded. I just know that their focus is on D Street and Second Street. There are some improvements there. We do have active bus routes right in there because of special bus routes, because they're not sidewalked, which is what Safe Route talks about. If we didn't had sidewalks there, we wouldn't have to run buses there right there, which relieves congestion. So
Even just painting some of the crosswalks.
Yes.
The full green would be a great short-term,
absolutely, absolutely,
but highlights the fact that kids could be crossing.
yeah.
Okay, if there's an opportunity when you're visiting with Michelle or through any of this plan, that we need to have a board member as liaison through the process, to the city of Creswell, like, let us know, because we can help advocate.
Absolutely, because this plan doesn't just sit on a shelf, but the second piece to that, once it's finalized, it's a catalyst for the application. So when we get to the point where we're applying with ODOT, which the lead agency for that will be City of Creswell, I will keep you up to date on that. So at that point, we'll be very helpful for the application, because letters of support to the Department of Transportation, all that plays into it very important.
Yeah, please let us know how we can help, because there's some low cost, low hanging fruit in this plan. But all of the language that I was reading was like, we'll prioritize, but it doesn't say we'll get it done.
Yeah, one of the things we struggle with too is ODOT likes you to be more specific and narrow down, and right now it's fairly, I'd like to see it narrow down a little bit, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay, more questions for Joel?
Good information. Thank
That
you.
is really good information. Okay, our next question is the grants, do you have stuff on that? Fred?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to your attention the grants that we've received for our facilities and infrastructure improvements, and review those with you. Beginning with the TAP grant, all of this has happened in the last 4 years. So beginning with the TAP grant that gets the assessment for our facilities, and then into the seismic improvement grants. The TAP grants were awarded for assessing our buildings for substandard construction and seismic instability. Joel submitted each of the TAP grant applications and participated in the facilities assessment meetings. I want to acknowledge that where, the lift is. He also submitted the seismic grant applications and reviewed the seismic improvement assessments with the engineers, and then created the RFPs for the projects. Once the grants were awarded, the lift shifted into the finance department and budgeting, which was embraced by Chanel. She couldn't wait to get more stuff to get her hands on more money so that she could have more work to do. But not only does she provide reports for reimbursements for all expenditures, every expenditure within a grant she tracks. But she also has to provide a separate accounting report for each grant, each purchase, all expenditures for every audit each year. The Awesome grant application was submitted by Joel, and the follow-up grant requirement reports will be submitted by Joel as well. Chanel provides documents for the grant requirements and then submits requests, reimbursements for all expenditures, and again, provides reporting of all of those, all of that accounting in our audits. So we bring money and it's her responsibility to track it. But during the audit process, there's a lot of reporting that goes on to the auditor on each grant and the expenditures that go with them. So the application to the Council for Sports Development, that's the CSD that assisted us with turf field out there and will be assisting us with the other fields. That was submitted by Joel, and Chanel tracks all the contracts that go out from there for our end, and also the CSD and expenditures that will be included in our audits for that funding as well. and those contributions in from CSD. So there's lots of hours devoted to just those bigs right there. And we don't bring on extra personnel to do that, but we embrace the funding coming in and get it done. Every grant application has a report that accompanies it, or a cover letter, so to speak, which is a report or an overview of where we're at, what we want to do, and how the funding will support us. When we look at those in totality, we have between the seismic grants and the TAP grants, we have over $5 million, almost 551, something around there, but over 5 million. And then the Awesome grant, which we also applied for, that brings us in 4 million, and we're looking at over 3 million, or about 2.5 million from the CSD Council to support our fields out there. So then you bring in other grants to help with infrastructure or facilities, the turf. We brought in SR2. SR2 has been a nightmare tracking system and audit system for Chanel. It's just, I don't know how she sleeps with that one, but anyway, we pulled in $500,000 out of that to replace that middle school turf, and that was the one-time expenditure that we used from that. The rest of it was all in personnel and or is in personnel to get us to 24-25 without falling off the cliff financially. But that was the highest need we had in the district at the time for capital improvements, and we didn't do it. We wouldn't have been able to use that field for the last year and this year. It was deemed unsafe for playable. And then the welding grant that Jenny went out and brought in for us. And then with these projects that we're involved in, when our structures are being improved, and we're looking at our electrical systems and then all our fixtures and energy efficient transitions that we're making there, we can apply for grants from the Energy Revival Grant. I think that's what it's titled. But we've been pulling in reimbursements from that grant allowance as well. So in total, to date, we have brought in over $12 million in grants, and we're not done. And that's just on facilities and infrastructure. That's not including the grants that we pulled in for programs for instruction. We'll bring those in to you it's too much to take in at one time all of it.
Yeah.
And the way that I simplify it is I look at infrastructure or facilities and instruction, and the grants are divided into the two areas. So we'll take a look at an overview of those at a later date under the instruction side. But since we're on capital improvements right now, and the bond is coming in with 18 million, that's where we sit at 12 million. We're looking out for another 10 million in grants that Joel is going to be applying for each of the high school buildings over there. And you can talk about the timeline for those, but in total, then we're looking at over $20 million of grants that we're going out for infrastructure.
That's amazing. Just tell
That's
us.
fantastic.
I'm so glad that you brought this tonight. So what are those timelines?
Okay.
What are the timelines for the next time?
Yeah, I have a handout for you, and I'll just do a quick 1-2 on it. This will give you a visual, because the key thing is, we talk about buildings over there, separate building for high school. This will be helpful. Also, by the way, next, speaking of energy grants, I will report next month. I don't have the dollar figure, but we just find the paperwork with Oregon Energy Trust. You get reimbursed for the light improvements for the football field. So we're going to get a chunk of change and a check from them. I'll have that number for you guys next month. So that's a good thing.
Amazing. That should be another 30K or higher.
Yes.
On that one. So because we have two fields that we're bringing in. Well, the other one's not an upgrade in efficiency. That one is, but
Yeah.
we'll get some credit for going with the energy efficient lighting in the middle school field too.
Before you do this, Bill, I just want to say out loud, we asked the community for a lot of money. We asked them for $18 million, and you guys have found a way, only because we passed that bond, for 6.5 million to match it, and I think it's important for the community to know, if that's money we wouldn't have had if you guys hadn't done all the work to pass that bond. You know, a lot of this stuff is things that our kids wouldn't get if everyone didn't, especially the PAC and the kids that supported the PAC, because I didn't go out and do the work. They went out and did the work to pass that bond. 6.5 million is a lot of money to bring to one community in a matter of just a year.
So this, just a quick rundown, is that currently we have been awarded 2.49 million, that's currently in progress. That seismic grant is happening right now. That's that first paragraph. That's building A and B. I previously had talked about that. That we applied for in, we had an evaluation 2022. We applied for it and was awarded it in June. And also at the same time happening this summer is buildings E and F, and that's kind of something to focus on. Building F is the academic building. That's where most of our classrooms are at. Building E and F are currently being seismically evaluated. I met with a lot of meetings on hand, what I call stand-up meetings, where you literally are standing and walking around and doing a lot of looking and taking photos. Where we did a seismic evaluation. I'm looking for that report to be given back to me by the end of this month. That's on track to be that. And I just found out, and I added that to this document here, that it's not official, but the state of Oregon is looking to reopen the opportunity to apply for another seismic grant in December of 2023. We do absolutely a plan to apply for. We're going to split that though, because typically it's better not to do two buildings. We were able to do that for buildings A and B because of the way they're structured, but we're looking at doing building F, which is our academic building. It's our oldest building there. It's original, it's 1967. It does need some assistance. And then building E, which is being evaluated now, that data is still valuable. So what we'll do is we'll apply for additional grant next year for that. And then I'm hoping then we'll also be doing another TAP grant and doing a seismic evaluation for buildings E and C. Now E is the shop building. That's also an original 1967 building. Interesting thing about that building is it's the only building over there that has a second story. So if you're curious to see what that comes back to seismically. And then building C is just a greenhouse. Probably not going to get much there. The state of Oregon doesn't normally look at things like the greenhouse. We feel pretty good about the academic
Is it
building.
the
Yes.
greenhouse or is it that shop, that classroom that's attached?
Well, right now it's being used as a classroom. So that actually is a good demonstration of how we need to have limited space over there. But architecturally, it's considered a workroom to the greenhouse.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was never designated to be a classroom. We
Not a greenhouse.
Yeah, it's
It has no sun.
exactly. Yeah, right. You actually, it's the workroom, it's literally the workroom to the greenhouse.
Yeah.
And the problem with the reason you don't really want it to be a classroom is it's literally attached to the greenhouse. So it gets that temperature rise. The greenhouse gets up to 380 degrees and it just soaks right into that room. It's not a very good room to have a classroom.
It's also really cold.
And
It's really
also
cold
can be
out,
too.
it's freezing in there, so, yeah.
So it's that portion of the greenhouse building. It wouldn't actually be the greenhouse that's all,
Right.
that's all that plasticky
Right.
stuff. Okay.
But architecturally, we call it, it's been called the greenhouse.
Greenhouse building. Okay, got it. Thank you for that.
No, absolutely. So building F is what we're focused on for our next application, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. I hope, one of the things State of Oregon looks at is, where can we put someone if there's an emergency and you have to have shelter? So gyms always get high. Fire stations, see that this is a competitive grant. We compete against fire stations and police stations and hospitals. Public service, what you need during a crisis, an emergency, an earthquake. Because your schools are one of the places they go to for that shelter. So gyms always rank high. So we always feel like gyms are going to do it. Building F is strictly an academic, but I'm hoping that through our narrative of our application, we can show that that would be where we have rooms available for sleeping, for a variety of things you might need during an earthquake. Yeah, for triage. So in the end, we're looking at up to 4 applications, one we currently have. And then one we're gonna apply for, and then 2 in the future, over the course of 4 years.
So Candace and I were just discussing, building D is the newest building over there, correct?
Yes,
Okay, but the offices are new. So
Well-
are they attached to each?
they are, and about a third of the office is new. It's really quite, you and I will remember, and Tim will too, because we graduated there, where there used to be that weird breezeway.
Yeah,
That's part of the office, and where the nurses station is, that's new as well.
okay.
And so the original main office was actually considerably quite small. if you
It was
consider it. Yeah, so about a third to maybe even half is part of the new structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say most, yeah, of the.
Well, it's like where Jenny's office was the staff, right?
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah, so that's all, and then all the rest behind it is like new, and that's
exactly.
built onto and D has classrooms in it, correct, or is,
I mean, D, yes, D is the newest wing, has 9 classrooms.
I don't know.
And they probably not have, we're probably not gonna apply for anything for D because it was built in 2004, it's structurally sound.
No,
There might be some improvements for lighting, because there could be, one of the things, a great example is building B is fairly new, but we're gonna be doing some improvements in there, because when you, even though it was built in 2004, you walk in the room and realize the lights are being hung by things, by structure, that if an earthquake were to occur, they were gonna drop. Because the goal behind seismic, what we did here, what's happening over there, is we're gonna get type 3, which is immediate occupancy. An earthquake occurs, you exit out, but you can get back in, and that's a big deal. So you can't have lights coming down and beating the.
one question I have is.
Yeah.
Under D, you have listed construction year as 1967, and that's not. That's partially true, but not entirely true.
Yeah, that's a good catch, you know what, because that, I actually cut and pasted from our engineers, so I just gave you some little ammunition to you. Thank you for catching that, I will make sure the correction's there.
was the admin building there? Was the first office part there?
I believe that's what they're saying, is they're including the academic, they're probably linking it to like the oldest portion of that
The
building.
oldest portion, yes,
Yeah.
the
67,
majority of it.
but we can word that differently, and I'll word it differently, absolutely. Any other questions?
Say, for those of us who didn't go to school there, did you say, it was the second, it was, D was updated in 2004, or
Yeah.
additionally,
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good, this is great to know, thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
this-
And then when we're talking, I sometimes go, which one's A, which one's B?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, when I knew I was gonna talk tonight, I thought, you know what, you need a scorecard.
Yeah,
Something to help think out what the buildings are. And
so,
this is what the state looks at when they award, so.
okay, so A and B, because that's when we already have money for, money in the bank, no, I don't know if that's true, but,
Sure.
okay, cool. Then the goal is to do something with that potentially this summer.
Well, not potentially, we have to,
It has to be.
because there is a hard deadline for when you spend the money.
Okay.
Our hard deadline is October, this coming, yeah, so we are on the tail end of that grant, and so we have full intentions of moving with that this summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Good information. Moving on to the CSD vision of success.
Yes, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about or update you on where we're at with this vision of success that we've been talking about for a year. But want to start out with your district, board, the mission, themes, vision themes, the goals, and the student achievement indicators. So whatever I do as superintendent needs to align or articulate to this document. So all the work that we've been putting into this visioning for improvement and all that is in alignment with this document, with all of your success indicators. So this is the vision of success.
But I'm never.
There is a lot. I like this page, the development of.
So when you look at it, the district board document is the umbrella over the CSD vision of success. We have the vision of the district vision of success. So, as superintendent, one of my main responsibilities is to develop a cohesive vision of success with commitment and buy-in from all stakeholder groups. This district vision that I'm handing you, the CSD vision of success, aligns to the goals of the school board. From the beginning, with the strategic planning process, we engaged the entire community in the development of a comprehensive plan of improvement. That's the third page of this document. We had a design team that was representative of all subgroups within our community, including board members, administrators, confidential employees, students, licensed and classified staff, parents, business owners, law enforcement, retired community members, etc. We didn't leave anybody out. There's over 50 members on that committee. And for the board members, Lacey, Mike, and Mark Parker, who was a board member at the time, thank you for participating on that committee and helping with that vision segment of our overall CSD vision. The vision for the development of a CSD graduate was also community-wide endeavor led by the strategic planning steering committee comprised of the district leadership team and school board members. We engaged all staff, parents, and students in the visioning process with community forums, all staff meetings, and community-wide surveys. Thank you, Debbie, Candace, and Tim for leading this work with us, the administrative team of the district. And finally, the development of the purpose, mission, and vision of our organization as we work within this as administrators. The work began with the strategic planning design team, was picked up by the strategic planning steering committee, and was completed by the district administrators. And so that is an overview of the path to get here. And this is the end product of all that work in the community.
Love it. Well, it's beautiful. It's very nice to put this together. Thank you.
So if you'll give your thumbs up and embrace it, then we will bring this into our district vision along with the board vision, mission, and goals. And this will be the subset of the CSD vision of success that goes with it.
Do you need a vote?
If it's less than yes, that would be great.
Do we need to vote on this?
Well, it's just a discussion, but
Yeah, I know.
I move to approve. Second that.
All in favor?
Oh boy, it's gonna be on the website tomorrow. Wait, you want this on the front page? Should be.
It's great.
People never not make me laugh.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work
Yeah,
on
mine
it.
is fantastic.
We all did, that was a collaborative effort, we all worked on it, we had fun, we had a lot of late hours in the evenings and, you know, it was,
But
Right,
you committed to leading this even as COVID still had a tail to it. So your commitment to keeping this going.
Yeah,
and
because it started
revised
on
was
the
important.
one side.
we did, we all did that.
No.
And the administrative team put a lot of work in summer hours into this too, a lot of text messages and documents flying through the Google.
I
Pages
can only
and
imagine.
updates and stuff, boy, when Bethany jumped in, the pace really picked up then.
Wow, thank you to you all. It's great. Great. So next item is board training.
Yes, that, you probably have all done this, but just wanted to kind of explain where we're at, in case you haven't, or you haven't heard an explanation for it. The child abuse training for board members is mandated by law, so it's something that came into action about 2 years ago, maybe 3. That all board members had to go through the child abuse training and our mandatory reporters. At the time, we were talking about sexual harassment training because that was coming in as a requirement for staff, and the board elected to include that in their training. And so now we have two trainings that go out to you all. One is on child abuse and mandatory reporting, the other's on sexual harassment training. So those should be to you from Vector training modules. And each of you, if you don't have those, Joel needs to know because you would have sent them to you.
We had cybersecurity too. I had like 3 cybersecurity.
Yeah, so you guys are actually grouped in with our staff, which, so you're actually able to see everything all staff members take. You're only required to take these 2. But you're welcome. By all means.
That means you get information. I might be very cheap, but I'm gonna go get it.
You get my certificate at the end? Yes, right?
The silver certificate.
Yes.
You know, and I did learn a few things about cybersecurity, and so, yeah.
Okay, so clarification, I wanna make sure, we highlight this, because Sarah being new, she will not.
Right.
You haven't done these trainings, Sarah, but in your school email, you'll have an email from something called Vector Training. Don't delete those, that's not spam. I did that the very first year, like just delete, but that's not spam. You'll use that email from Vector Training to log in. And then once you log in, you'll have courses to choose from. And so when I'm looking at my list, there's 2 sexual harassment modules. We do both of those, right?
Yeah,
Staff to staff and student issues and response.
Actually, yes, I believe, yes.
Okay, so 2 sexual harassment ones, and then where it says child abuse, mandatory reporting.
Yes.
That's the one that we're required to complete by
Yes,
law.
correct.
Okay,
And
and this
then
is
what I do
very
is I'll provide that information.
This question?
I didn't, and I'm not seeing, have you already sent them?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have.
Mine was just
I
like,
have completed them.
You
Okay,
may-
let me just see if I can spam.
Yeah,
I'll write a note, I'm writing it myself, and I'll check to make
There you
sure.
go.
I can,
Okay.
I can force one out.
okay.
Can you check?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I
so
haven't
look-
received mine yet.
Okay,
Okay, I'll
look
do
in
the
the
same.
subject line for Vector Training.
I did.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll,
Yeah, that was a great discussion.
I can do it.
Really fast.
I know. So, yeah.
Okay, the check is in the mail.
All right,
And when do we have to finish those by? The
Well,
middle of October?
yeah, we have the deadline to be the middle of October for all for the staff, and, so we're held to that same energy.
Okay. Okay.
all right. So next item is the OSBA legislative roadshow. Marilyn was gonna talk to us about that.
So that was just information.
Mhm.
If you would like to attend, let me know. I'll let, Lady SD know. Dinner's at 6. If you want dinner, 6:30 for the meeting.
It's next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Who attended, Tim and I, didn't we, yeah, we attended that together last year.
I think I was going to go. I wish I could, but I'm already double booked that night. So I won't be able to go. Is anyone else able to go?
I am not.
You're not able to either?
Anyone?
Shoot.
But it's not required, but
No.
I know, it's just an opportunity to talk to OSBA and hear what's happening. So,
Unless I get up, but I'll let you know, Marilyn, if I get on to my other thing.
Okay,
Yeah, when I'm getting called to, like, you know, we're gonna wait and count.
okay. Yeah, just let me know.
All right. The next item was the convention. So I know we talked about it last time, but Marilyn's found out some other information, like we need to do, get the timeline to sign up is
Well,
a little
everything is different this
different.
year.
Yes.
And they originally were going to have information out on today, but they changed their mind and supposedly they will have information on Friday, which will include sessions, because that agenda, the glance, it was just time frame.
Right.
But they hopefully will have that information on Friday. The other thing is this year, they're gonna open registration and hotel reservations at 9 o'clock this Friday. I have to register you before I can even try to get a hotel.
So that's Marilyn's push, that if you want to go, you have to tell her
And it's,
as soon as possible.
the convention is just Friday and Saturday now. It used to be
Yeah, it's
on
not
Sunday, now it's just Friday and Saturday.
oh, but so you just spend one night, Friday night?
Friday night.
Good. Well, Friday Friday night.
Yeah.
And
Or
we're early
Thursday
on
night.
Friday.
Thursday night to be there Friday morning.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what we did
What's
last
it-
time,
what's it-
right? Thursday night
what's it-
and Friday night.
It's, November 10th and 11th,
Okay, 10th of,
Friday and Saturday. And they're gonna charge $100.
If you cancel, or don't cancel.
Well, I cannot do it, so,
Okay, so no for you, okay.
unfortunately, because I actually do like this conference.
I have to do too, so I'm still a maybe. So I will get with you by
Tomorrow.
tomorrow, I'll get with you by tomorrow. Just check with the
Will,
other half.
will registration fill up? Or will we, because if I go, I'll have to drive up both days, just because of other commitments I have, or I will go up for one day, so I won't need a hotel room, but I'm trying to go up for a day
Okay, I've not had a problem
with just
registration.
registration.
It's
Okay,
always the hotel room, and now there's one hotel, and it's a Marriott.
yeah, okay.
And you were gonna go, Mike, right? For Thursday night?
Marilyn, I'll have to let you know, I have to check my work schedule.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So,
It's still in limbo as much as our conference is, unfortunately, we function the same way, it seems like. And so I need to talk to the girl that's scheduling all my travel for me for November,
By tomorrow.
but tomorrow, I will, it will be later tomorrow.
I promised Marilyn I would push. By tomorrow, everybody by tomorrow.
Marilyn, I just sent you an email. I would like to go.
okay,
Look at that, good job.
so do you want a room for Thursday night and Friday night?
Yes, please.
It's a great conference, Sarah, you'll
It really
really
is.
enjoy it.
It'll be even more fun if I come.
I think I will go both nights.
Okay.
Because of, yeah,
But
I
when
thought
did
it
they get
was
out?
Thursday, Friday, I didn't know it was a Saturday.
It's Friday and Saturday. It used to be part of the day on Sunday, but now they don't have that.
Yeah. I will let you know
A
tomorrow.
lot of changes this year.
So this conference actually got me ahead at work because we are using the same speaker at my consulting company now for, adverse impacted equity. So the gentleman who did the last two for OSBA, we're using, that's what we can.
I'll tell you what, I
He's
wouldn't
excellent.
know anything about bonds and ballots if it wasn't, I mean, I had educated every year there, or more education each year on it.
Can you ask when you register if they're gonna put any of the sessions online? Like during COVID, they actually made some of them available online. And that was really nice, and maybe they won't, but if you could ask, I would appreciate that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I will do that. Plus, they have a new lady that's in charge.
Oh, go
Yeah,
there.
I feel sorry for her.
Moving on, trustee reports. Sarah, you can go first. Wait, good.
Thanks for that, Debbie. Well, I was the sole representative of the school board at the welcome back breakfast. So, other than that, I've spent a lot of time with our football teams. I just got home from a middle school game and I spent a lot of time with our high school team.
Mike.
About the only thing I've done is got to do the changes on a couple of games, and I just love it. Nobody's screaming at me for something I didn't see when I was ready. But,
And now you can see everything with the lights.
oh,
We
it-
don't like
Yeah.
that.
it's actually, there's lines down there, and there's these posts that stick up. I've never seen them in 30 years. It's really cool.
It's been so amazing to sit in the stands and listen to people just rave and be so in awe of what our facility is now. It's amazing.
Yeah, so lots of people asking, and Mike and I, this came up about, is the scoreboard new? Because it got lifted. And people were saying, oh, did you guys get a new scoreboard? And I was like, no, I actually just heard, it's just been raised up, but just having that little lift on it really made a big difference, so.
It looks twice as big.
It does, it looks larger, and the flagpole over there looks really great, were commenting on that, on everything, really. So that's me, football, I went to a boys soccer game and a JV girls volleyball game, so
Well, thank you.
I was just at the open house for high school tonight, before we came here. So parents, as I was leaving, parents more were starting to funnel in. So they had some hot dogs they were barbecuing for folks, and then a couple different parent meetings. Some teachers were out visiting, especially with some of the newer students and the freshmen and the parents that wanted to meet some teachers, so that was great. Been to some soccer games for the boys. Let's see, helped with the new locker installation over at the middle school. So the lockers over there.
In the locker rooms, right?
In the locker rooms for the middle school, they had little PE lockers. And so you can't fit anything in there except maybe, you know, your sweaty clothes. So, a community group in partnership with Mike, I think the school district paid for the materials. Our local cabinet shop did all the cutting, precise cutting out. And then we've had, you know, glue together, screw together installation parties and put them in so that, you know, for football, there, you can fit an actual helmet in there and your gear. So there's 35 new full-length lockers in the boys and in the girls. They look stunning. They're beautiful lockers. So that has been fun. We had a tremendous, last night, we had about, I don't know, 10 to 12 different, you know, parents or folks coming in and out of each of the parties. Last night, they put together 35 lockers in one night. Before, we were gluing and screwing about 10 of them together and putting them in. So we had a lot more parents and folks show up last night. Middle school parents that are loving the fact that, and they're engaged, you know, and they're contributing and owning part of the school. So love that. That's been fun. Our Food for Kids backpack program, that's getting up and running. Lisa Ross is running that for us. And so I think we'll be doing our first delivery. Marilyn, is it tomorrow? Because I know you're driving, or is it next Friday?
I haven't contacted yet. I'm
Okay.
assuming it's next Friday.
Okay, we're getting up and running, so I just don't know if the email has gone out. So we'll get that up and running again. And then, Janet Wigden, who's running our clothes closets in each of the schools, has been busy stocking and getting everything ready. And she's getting stuff over to the high school. We've not had the best clothes closet over there, but we will now. So that's been super cool to help and be a part of that. And then I missed the bond oversight committee last week. I had COVID in my house, so I was quarantined for a while. What else? I think that's it. But that was a lot. Awesome. Yeah, our awesome that are supporting or getting up and running, right?
Yeah.
Always that effort when you have to come back into school. That was great.
Can I make a comment on the lockers?
Yeah.
So there was several different issues that led to that. One is the stinky clothes in the small lockers. Kids don't put them in there anymore. They don't keep PE clothes there overnight. They bring their backpacks and they carry everything from their home in their backpacks and or duffel bags, and they just drop them. You know,
Get
in
back
the hall.
lighting the hallways.
And so now they have these big open lockers where they can drop their big duffel bags or backpacks in them, and they're out of the way, they're not a safety issue. And in addition, now we have lockers where the athletes, whether they're visiting or they're home, we have facilities for both teams where they can put their stuff while they're out playing.
Yeah, I have a picture in progress. After the meeting, I'll show you what they look like, because they're gorgeous. And one of the coaches, I was asking how the kids responded, because we got the football lockers done in time for them to get their gear. So that when they had a helmet, they had a place to put it, and it wasn't just kind of stored on the ground, but they had names like written on tape on their locker. They loved that. The coach said the kids were just loving the fact that they had their name on a locker.
So the middle school, when it was built, wasn't built with athletic facilities in it. I mean, they had the gym, but they didn't have any locker or storage facilities for their athletic program. So this was loosened everything up in there to be able to provide that. So kids aren't going up to what do you call it, supply
Well, the
room.
utility
or
room is where they-
Utility room, put their uniforms up in the evening and go up the next day, get them and bring them back down to change it. That whole thing, and the stairwell that goes up there is about as wide as this table maybe. But now, they don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, they feel that locker room is for them.
Great.
Yeah, so thank you for helping partner with us to get them the supplies.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is a very short
Yeah, yeah.
list, in translation. I'm gonna start with, I haven't been in the middle school locker room, but my husband's truck smells like a middle school. And I actually gagged the other day when I got in, because there was a pair of football pants that had been a little too long, so I went to the leadership meeting last week with Mike and Debbie. I've also been to a handful of football games and jamboree, and Sarah and I rescued some football bags the other day from the side of the freeway. Thank you, Sarah. I have got to go watch a couple of volleyball games, and everyone knows I'm partial to football, but that volleyball team is next level. They're the real deal right now for sure. And I even got out and watched a girls' soccer game. And I have to apologize to the girls because they don't understand a single thing that happened. But I watch and I clap, and I'm unsure if it's at the right time, but I clap nonetheless. So that is what I have done.
So much. I did do the leadership meeting, and I've been to 2 girls' games and 2 football games.
And you cooked
I wrangled my husband into cooking a football game. They're like, we need something to barbecue, and I said.
I even ate one of those.
Very nice. He actually enjoyed it, so, yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my going wells. It was fun, so. And then we already, did we go over?
Yeah,
You did not, you looked at, you shifted it, so we're all finished. Unless we have something else from Candace.
I do, I always have something.
I should just go there.
I know, I'm not gonna lie, that's who I am. So, board request future agenda items.
Yeah.
So, I know I have another form to do this, but I wanna say this out loud to see if anyone else is as interested as I am. I'd like to start having like some type of presentation again in the board meetings like we used to pre-COVID, right? We used to have a topic that was a presentation, it doesn't have to be an elaborate topic, just a way for us to know things that are going on. And I mean, I have something I personally would like to have, but I think in general that something people are interested in having again. Not something elaborate that takes a lot of time, just basic information.
Yeah, I thought they were mainly staff presentations, coming to show something. We had all, like Maria Saputo brought in her kids when they learned, I think, a literacy song to a piano, right? Something creative, that was one example. We just have different highlights of things. So I'm certainly interested in that. I don't want to put a lot of burden.
I don't want to become teachers.
But open the,
So
like,
there's opportunities.
if they
for
want
that.
to, we would love to have.
Sure. One thing I actually would like to hear more about is I know you guys have been revamping the performance review process for the last 2 years. I've been told, hearing, right, that we're doing it there. And I don't know that I have any idea where it's ended. I mean, I know what the old process used to be, but I thought you guys were doing like the forms or whatnot. That's true.
Well, we went to an electronic system.
Yeah.
So we took the evaluation system that existed, and now we've uploaded it, and it's electronic, but it hasn't been changed.
I think it would be helpful for me and maybe others to have a reminder of what our performance review process is in the district. Like how we're evaluating, not an example, but just what is the process, what's the 2-year cycle, who does it?
Okay,
That would be my request.
okay.
I would like to hear more from some of the student programs, like, I just think like, as we make decisions and as we're, implementing things and talking about things, it'd be kind of nice to hear from like FBLA after they go on their state trip, or just kind of maybe have some students come in and talk about their experiences so we can hear it from the kids. I do love hearing the report, the singular report from the SB president, and that's great. But like maybe after some of the bigger things that the kids are going to do, not that it has to be every time.
Yeah.
But some of the big things and whatever is happening at the middle school as well, like, you know, if they go on I know their FBLA kids also did really well, and it'd be kind of fun to hear from some of the kids if they're willing to come in and talk to us about it. Yeah, just invite them, if they're busy, I get it, I don't want to put more work on anybody's plate, but. Yeah.
I mean, just even to have their advisor come and say, hey, these are the winners, you know, and
Yeah.
not even force them to have a conversation. It's difficult in this setting sometimes.
There are fun points of interest.
Yes,
You know, kids that have competed in a math competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that even when Carly went to Costa Rica, they came in and gave us a presentation. So we've done things like that. So she's. So.
Just a suggestion.
Well, I'll let the principals know that
Bring
we
us
want to
some
have
kids.
it.
Yeah. Nice kids too, like, there's things that they're doing, they don't necessarily have to come talk, but it would be nice to recognize accomplishments.
I tell you, at the end of the year, I should have had Mrs. Rains in kindergarten class come do the Pledge of Allegiance with us at the end of last year. She teaches them how to do it with sign language the whole time. So I see them learn it on Friday mornings, because that's when I read. So, right, kindergarten, they can barely sit down when school starts. But by the end of the year, all these kids knew how to do the Pledge of Allegiance with sign language. Like, that's an impressive thing to see.
Yeah.
So I'm volunteering Mrs. Rains for next year.
That's a really agenda item.
It's absolutely informal. I love it.
No, I'm really not. Next board meeting, October 11th. And here adjourned, before you.
I'm always.
I don't feel bad. I